Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs podcast. We're on season 5. Tonight is episode number 48, the sports edition. Andy, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. We've got a special guest here on tap. We're going to talk a little baseball. It's not a bonus episode. This is a normal episode talking sports, but we do have a special guest here joining us. Andy, please introduce to the guest.
Why don't you guys introduce yourselves down there and where we know you from?
All right. Well, I'm Zach Muckenhirn.
And I'm Courtney, his wife.
Yeah, we're actually from Delano, Minnesota. And yeah, I've just been playing some pro ball for a while.
Actually, we wanted Courtney on, and she said you had to tag on with, so it's kind of.
Well, of course, yeah.
That's how it goes. Zach, of course, he went to school at Delano. He's got some major league experience and playing around now. You were originally drafted by who?
I was drafted by the Orioles back in 2016.
Okay. And then you played there. You did make it to the bigs with the Mets a couple years ago. Then got traded to Seattle. Your time in the minors with all the other from A all the way up, are the stories like they say, like the bus leagues, is it as bad as they say it is?
Yeah, well, and that's what's interesting. I would say So I'll start by saying the minor leagues have evolved quite a bit. I'd say probably post-COVID, it's really sort of accelerated and gotten a lot better. Unfortunately for me, I was already past the bus leagues at that point, so I got the full force of the bus leagues.
Okay.
I got to experience the real thing. And yeah, I mean, it's a grind. When everybody says it's a grind, I guess there's a reason why that's what they always say, because there's no better way to put it.
Do you think, like with AAA here, like with the Saints now, well, they got the 6-game series.
Mm-hmm.
As a player, are you in favor of that, or did you kind of like 3 and go?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Courtney can offer her insights on this too, but I really like it because the one downside, really the only drawback is as a pitcher, you face a lineup 6 days in a row. Obviously, the advantage swings to the hitter, but beyond that, I really like it just from a travel perspective. It's a really predictable schedule. You know, you're at home for at least a week, or you know where you're at. You're there for a week. You're always going to travel around that off day. So it makes the lifestyle a lot more predictable and manageable.
Now, like in the minor leagues, you did some time in the with other guys. Is there any like stories, like famous stories, like, hey, this guy gets a bad rap, he's really a nice guy, or no, this guy's not a nice guy, he's a jerk, trust me? I mean, is there any names or stories you could share?
Yeah, I mean, so to be honest, for the most part, I think across the board, most of the guys that I got to spend time with, they're mostly really good dudes. I mean, a lot of guys in the clubhouse, it's one of those things where if you really have a clubhouse cancer, either A, that dude's worth a ton of money and he is a stud, or B, he doesn't last. Because like clubhouse culture is really a thing. And I mean, you do have to fit in. It's not that every guy has to be like a glue guy, you know, but for the most part, everybody, I mean, it's just really interesting, especially as you get around other high level athletes with, you know, obviously we're really intense. We have a lot of focus, a lot of whatever, but we kind of even each other out a little bit. So in a way, the clubhouse becomes sort of the sanctuary, to where everybody's just kind of normal, you know, we just become buddies and we just.
I was saying, and on field is different than off field personalities.
Right. Yeah. That's it. When the lights get turned on, when we're between the lines, obviously you see some guys start to become more, you know, this, that, and the other thing. But for the most part, I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially in my later years when I got to the upper levels, AAA, and a little bit in the big leagues, like spring training and stuff, you know, meeting some really, really big names like Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, David Robertson, Ottavino. There was, you know, a lot of guys like that. It is really cool. And I mean, it's really humbling too, to occupy the space with these guys. And I got the fortune of, you know, obviously interacting with Buck Showalter, who's been in the game forever, a couple of times. And, you know, to hear them talking about me either in post-game interviews or things is really cool. But yeah, for the most part, they're all really, really nice guys, you know. And I think nowadays they treat rookies and younger guys way better than they probably used to for all kinds of reasons. But
because the media is there a little more to follow you.
Yeah, I mean, you get no privacy. That is the one thing that I noticed, especially last year. spring training with the Mets was that big year where they shattered they spent like $400 million on this team. And so there was so much press. It was unprecedented for me. I'd never seen anything like it. First day of spring training, you got thousands of fans watching me play catch. And it's with Jose Quintana, who's been in the big leagues for like 14 years. Like, what is going on? I'm coming from games in like Bowie where there's 300 people and you hear the bugs outside during the middle of the game. And now you got this. But yeah, I learned very quickly there's no privacy in the big leagues.
Can I add one?
Yeah.
In his spring training with the Mets, I remember you coming home one day and like they literally were teaching the younger guys how to interview, especially within the clubhouse. They're like, hey, like put these chairs in front of you, like create a barrier just so you have some space because they'll try to get right up in your face and get what they want.
That's actually funny too because like Buck Showalter's really known for his like meetings at the beginning of every day. He's really on top of it. He's always got really good intel. And it was just funny because every day we're going over on-field things, defensive plays, bunt plays, steal plays, things like that. And then one day, the day that fans were finally allowed, the whole meeting was just geared toward navigating the crowds, where you're going to walk, where you want to look, how to avoid people. It was just really interesting.
It was all etiquette.
Yeah. Different kind of strategy.
How different is that like in the Mexican League where you are now compared to in the States with the fans and the interviews and stuff?
Yeah, well, I guess luckily or unluckily, I dodged interviews in Mexico because I'm not a Spanish speaker. I'm getting there, un poquito. But as far as the fans and things, it's actually pretty remarkable because I would like soccer is still definitely their number one down there, but baseball is huge. I mean, it's really the alternative to soccer, and they're very, very passionate, just in a totally different way than I think fans are, at least in the minor leagues. I mean, you have trumpets blaring in the middle of the game. You got noisemakers going all the time. You got people screaming. They got probably 6 or 7 different chants and songs that they'll sing just throughout in the middle of innings, things like that. And opposing fans stick together and will like jeer and, boo and whatever. And that's the other thing too that's really interesting. The fans are much more in tune to the game, I think, because if you give up a double, you got a 1-run lead and you give up a leadoff double, you're going to get booed by 20,000 people immediately. But then if you strike out the guy to end the inning, you're going to get cheered and celebrated by 20,000 people for a long time. So
there seems to be, a lot less cell phone usage and a lot less like families at games there. Yeah. Like people were there and they were in it.
Yeah, because I noticed during the whole COVID thing, I got really more into the Korean League and the Australian League, and how the chants and everything else. Have you had a chance to talk to guys like from Korea or Australia comparing to Mexico? Is it kind of the same thing where the fan interaction like that?
Yeah, I think so. And again, I don't want to make it so black and white, but from my understanding, I would say Korea, Mexico, and Australia are probably like 3 different rungs of the ladder. Korea's at the top. You probably still have the most premier talent up there. Big salaries, big stadiums, big crowds, things like that, a lot of coverage. And then Mexico is probably the tier below that, but it's growing. And then Australia is still professional baseball, and you guys will make a living, but it's it's a little behind. And I think one of the big reasons is they don't play as many games, and their schedule is a little more lax. So that's kind of the impression that I get, is it's still kind of like there's a little bit of a hierarchy to it.
I mean, I've seen some of the Australian games on YouTube, and we got better ballparks in the Crow River League here than they got over there.
Yeah,
really?
Right.
I didn't know that.
No offense, but we do. I mean, so.
Right. It's probably tough to manicure your field when you're looking out for, thousands of animals that can kill you on any given day. So.
Quickly get it in. Quickly get the game in.
Yeah.
Now, when you were in Monterrey, did you play with Trevor Bauer? Was he there at the same time?
Yeah, Trevor Bauer was in Mexico City, and so we met up with him in the World Series. Yeah, they call it the King Series.
Yep.
So we faced off against him. That was actually a really fun game. Watching him throw, he did his thing. Our starter Stephen Tarpley matched him, and that was an incredible game to watch those guys go back and forth. What about Delano?
You saw him at the
Oh yeah, and I did get a chance to speak with Trevor Bauer just a little bit when I was among friends. I knew several guys on the Mexico City team. You know, we got dinner, things like that, and I just happened to run into him. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of goes along with what I was saying before, like just him being around baseball guys. Obviously, he's probably the biggest baseball personality that there is. I mean, maybe. He's got all kinds of YouTube channels, his brands and things, and then obviously his controversy that he's been going through. But again, when he's around the guys, just like everybody else, really good dude, really down to earth in that way, loves talking baseball. So
now I spent some time in Monterrey a couple of years ago for work. Did you get a chance to go to the Mexican Baseball Hall of Fame there?
No, I actually did not. And I did not find out until, which, shame on me, but I didn't find out until late that's where it was. And I mean, I'm heading back there, next week?
2 days.
Yeah, 2 days. Yeah, whatever.
In case you've never heard of the man, you cannot swing a dead cat in that building without hitting a Fernando Valenzuela something or other. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's the man in that building. So you'll see a lot of stuff about El Toro, as they call him. But and they could play the videos and it's all in Spanish, but if you know baseball, you still know what the guy's saying.
Yeah. That's cool.
So it's really kind of neat. They got a whole bunch of baseball cards of every player who's from Mexico who's been in the majors. Mm-hmm. So it was neat. I was there, spent a half hour. It was kind of cool. So you did it. It was kind of fun. That's highly recommended.
Yeah, I'll have to see that.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of, I was at work today being a big Mets fan. Got in a little trouble for my noise. They're in the playoffs. Who's your pick for the Major League Baseball playoffs? Who's going to get the World Series at the end of the year?
Yes, Courtney. Who's your pick?
No, I don't have a pick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. So, admittedly, this is probably the least I followed a Major League season. However, I mean, I have mixed, bittersweet feelings about the Orioles, but I mean, I think they're going to be a team. They're going to be a fun team to watch in the playoffs. I think as the years go by, they're going to keep getting more experience, and they're one of these days. I mean, they're going to knock on the door, and they're going to do some big things.
Well,
but
one of those teams about 100 losses 2 years ago, and now here they're in the playoffs.
Right? Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I know a lot of the guys that have either gotten up there or playing on that team, and it's just fun for me in that way too. So obviously, I'm going to be rooting for those players. But it's tough. I mean, it's always because you also have a team like the Astros in the American League who doesn't really matter what their record is. If they're in the playoffs, you got to watch out for those guys. They're always mixing things up. And I'd say the same thing with the Phillies in the National League at this point. But just looking at it on paper, it's tough going against the Yankees or the Dodgers. The two best I believe the two best records in the American and the National League. And it's just like at some point you think one of those franchises they're going to get it done.
I'm kind of looking at the Detroit-Houston series as being a fun one to watch.
Yeah.
Detroit's been real fun to watch lately. And they're really – I don't see – I mean, Cleveland Yankees, they all had their great year, but I don't see anyone running away with it. This would be like a really fun October, I think. Yeah,
that's what I saw something not long ago. I don't remember. It's been a number of years since there has not been a 100-win team in the MLB. And so you just got to imagine that should create for some good matchups, a lot of parity. I mean, it's just should be competitive.
And neither one of the last year's World Series teams made the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be fresh blood. So
that's cool.
Very exciting. And today's doubleheader was, I don't like the way it worked out, but having that last day where these two games matter through, poor Diamondbacks sitting home watching, it's like,
right.
Well, MLB.com had listed on the front page of their splash page, an instant classic, that game one. It was already labeled a classic game. It had playoff atmosphere. And it was a regular season game, but no other games going with it. Playoffs start tomorrow. This was the big deal.
Right. Yeah.
Now, go back. You played college at UND?
Yep.
Is it still hard for you to – are they still the Sioux to you, or do you call them the Fighting Hawks? Is it still going to be able to be the Sioux to you?
Yeah, that's interesting because technically I occupied the exact 3 years where UND had no identity.
They were just University of North Dakota?
Yeah, so,
it was just North Dakota.
Yeah,
so
when I was a senior in high school, that was the year that they had to drop the Sioux. And then I was there for 3 years. And following the year that I was drafted, they unveiled the Fighting Hawks logo and things. So I guess maybe I ushered in a new era, for better or worse. I don't know. All I can say is I certainly can feel and can understand the pride in the heritage of the Fighting Sioux logo. That is the one that I would say, like, yeah, I would lean toward identifying with that one for sure.
Yeah, because that was so strong up there. I got family in northern Minnesota. You hear that all the time. It's like there was never a bark until government got involved.
Yeah, right.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yep.
One other fair question. I don't know how much Courtney shared with you. Our show is called Sports and Songs. Now I know it's out of your age range, but we're mostly like 80s music. Is there any 80s band that you kind of prefer, or what's your music pick? You're warming up, you're lifting weights. What are you listening to?
Right. So yeah.
Oh, I was like, if he's warming up, he listens to no music.
Oh. Yeah, I'm kind of a psycho.
Silence.
Okay.
Yeah, I work out in silence. I warm up in silence. Yeah, I'm weird that way. However,
you do know your music.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily an aficionado, but I appreciate music. And to answer your question about, is there a band in the 80s that I like? My blanket answer is yes, because that is probably where 90% of the music I know is from.
Okay.
Is from the 70s, 80s. You can thank my parents for that, probably. I would say, like, if I really had to just immediately go somewhere, it would either be Journey or Queen. I know technically they formed in the 70s, but Journey or Queen. And one of the reasons is because the first CD I ever listened to on like a Walkman when I was a very young kid was Queen Greatest Hits.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I was hooked on them forever. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other bands, obviously individual artists and things, same thing, like listen to a lot of Michael Jackson. Obviously had to grow up listening to Prince all the time. Love Prince. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton though too.
And Journey, like we said, Journey's one of those bands that's a great car ride.
Yeah.
One to listen to,
Yeah. And that's what's funny. The two bands that I mentioned, Journey and Queen, they each have a song that has just been beat to death. I mean, I bet you can I'll give you two guesses which songs those are. One for each of them.
For Journey and Queen?
Yeah.
Andy will know this.
Oh, well, Queen, We Are the Champions. There's got to be one of those up there.
Yep.
Or Bohemian Rhapsody, one of the two.
Yep.
And for Journey, Don't Stop Believing probably is
That's right. That's right. So that's interestingly, Don't Stop Believing and Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, I swear I hear it all the time everywhere I go. And so despite that, I'm kind of, deaf to those two songs. But despite that, those are still probably my two favorite bands.
Yeah, those are great bands. Great bands. That's all we really got for you. I was going to just go over some stuff. You're welcome to listen to just one other news bit we had today. Earlier this afternoon, Pete Rose passed away.
Yeah, I saw that.
And just got some stats and numbers on him. Hear what he did. 83 years old, played from 63 to 86. His 5 records he has is career hits, 42.56, games, 35.62, leads in at-bats, just over 14,000, singles, 3,215. And one of his stats he always said in later interviews he was kind of unofficially proud of, he also led the league in most outs. He got out 10,328 times.
Nice.
So I always kind of like saying that.
Yeah.
3 World Series, 3 batting titles, an MVP, 2 Gold Gloves, both as an outfielder. Rookie of the Year, 17-time All-Star at 5 different positions.
That's
first, second, third, left, and right field. And I saw some of the stuff going around. He had the lifetime ban from the Hall of Fame. Now people are wondering, now that he's passed away, will they finally put him in?
Yeah.
Because so he couldn't have that moment in the sun.
Right.
Will someone be the jerk and say, "Oh, now we'll put him in"?
Right.
Another story for another show, another day. But
that's
heroes.
I'm sure.
Louisa Rise, Andy. won 3 batting titles back to back to back for 3 different teams, 1 in the American League, 2 consecutively in the National League. I mean, it's unreal. Now, he's being paid $10.6 million this year, right? But as part of the deal, when Miami shipped him to San Diego, they're absorbing, I think, 90% of his salary this year. So really, the Marlins are paying for the Padres to have a batting champion. They're paying very little. I saw it today on a news clipping that I think a portion of his salary was only absorbed by the Padres. All the rest, Miami Marlins ate. So I found that interesting. But congrats to Mr. Arise.
So now, what teams are going to win a batting title with next year is the question.
Good question. There's a lot of people keep saying that. Why do they keep trading him if he's that bad? No, he's that good that you want him, of course, but you could get so much in return.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, fit on your roster, like the Twins didn't have room for him, so now you capitalize and get guys in return. But everyone that I know of who's played with him love the guy, whether management or a team or, great athlete.
The one pitcher for the Royals, going blank on his name. I think it's Smith. It's 4th straight year he's been in the playoffs with 4 different teams, and they've won the World Series every year. The team he's been on.
Okay.
So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Watch for that guy. Also, watch the Royals. Yeah. Doggy wants to be on the show too.
That's right.
That's all right.
So Zach, just to summarize up now, we've got the Mexican League that's underway. It has been going. The Mexico regular league. This is the one that's starting now. Is the Pacific, right? Is this the Pacific League in the Mexican? Yep. Okay. Yep. And so, what team are you going to be on? I know it's Monterrey, but what is the nickname again?
The Sultanes, which is just Spanish for the Sultans.
Okay. And that is in that group, for those following that are not familiar with it, that's the North Division, right? There's a North and a South Division. The Monterrey's in the North, I believe.
Correct.
For that. And then the winners of this, is this what comes out to this the Caribbean Series, or is that the other Mexican League?
Yep. No, that's correct. For this Pacific League, the winter season, the winner of that will be representing Mexico for the Caribbean Series, which is the first week of February, I think.
February, March. And that's a big deal. That's only been getting bigger and bigger the last 5 years or so. Everyone's been following that, and that's huge. And how big and important baseball is in that region of the world down there in the Caribbean is phenomenal. And you're gonna have a fun year playing there. I can't wait to follow the stats, the standings, and how the team's doing. And it should be a good time. I think you're going to enjoy yourself down there.
Now, for Olympics reasons or World Baseball Classic reasons, are you going to get Mexican citizenship so you can play on these other teams?
When I signed,
I kind of asked that seriously and tongue in cheek a little,
Yeah, I would say realistically, we'll say probably not, but I would love to, because man, from everything I hear about the World Baseball Classic, that is the event to play in. That just sounds like a blast. I would love to represent. First of all, I would love to represent my country, but maybe that means I need to adopt another country and then I can go represent them.
Right.
I have a sister who lives in Britain with her husband.
There you go.
So maybe I could get citizenship there and go play for Great Britain.
But players, trust me.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch all the Major League Baseball, the pros sprinkled in among all the countries of where they're all coming from, where they're.
Speaking of Britain, I think their last World Baseball Classic, they're catchers in the Mariners organization right now. So there you go.
Right. I feel like you're seeing guys show up from more and more places. Like baseball in a lot of ways, I think, is growing a bit from an international perspective.
Yeah, it is. It's great. But hey, it's been great having you on, young man.
Thanks, Zach.
Now,
thanks, Courtney. Courtney's gone now.
Taking care of the pup.
Priorities.
Right.
Now, if you ever get bored now, the way they've changed things here with town ball,
right?
Waconia is up in Class A where they don't keep points anymore. You want to pick up a few innings, Waconia will get you for a couple days, Labor Day weekend, you're kind of open,
Always tough for pitching. Delano is.
I will keep that in mind. I will say Delano has done their part trying to recruit me over the years. But
when they moved up to B, they're going to be in Crow River now with us in Watertown here. So
that's right. Yeah.
Lots of shakeups going there. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Fun stuff. Well, good luck. Good luck in a trip down south there in a couple days. And we'll be watching the season here as it progresses and reporting on it here on the show.
Yeah, safe travels. Don't be afraid to ever, if you want to report on or call up, just let us know.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you
All
guys.
right.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Thank you. That's all we got, Dan. We out of here.
Yeah, I think we're all set.
We're all set. We'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, see ya.
See ya.